Have you ever stood before the Great Pyramid and felt small? A mountain of stone, older than empires, older than kings. Each block weighs more than a car. There are over 2 million of them. And yet, somehow, thousands of years ago, they were lifted, placed with perfect precision. So precise, even today, a razor blade cannot slip between them. But here's the question no one can truly answer. How did humans, without machines, without iron tools, create this? What secret knowledge did they possess? Some say brute strength. Some whisper about lost technologies. Others even speak of the stars guiding their hands. But that's not the strangest part. The deeper you look, the more impossible it seems. Stones cut with laser-like accuracy. Massive blocks transported across desert sands, and a design that mirrors the heavens themselves. Coincidence? Or was there something the ancients knew? Something we have forgotten? Stay with me, because in this journey, we will peel back the sand. We will uncover secrets buried for 4,500 years, and by the end, you may never see the pyramids the same way again. The story begins more than 4,000 years ago in the burning heart of ancient Egypt, a world where the Nile was not just a river, but the very pulse of life. Each year, its waters rose, flooding the land, leaving behind fertile soil. And from that soil, Egypt's power grew. Crops fed armies, wealth filled treasuries, but most of all, it gave rise to a dream of immortality. At the center of this dream stood the Pharaoh. To his people, he was not merely a king. He was a god, walking on earth. Every command he gave was divine order. Every word, eternal law. And when such a being looked to the horizon, he did not imagine a tomb. He imagined a monument that would pierce the sky. Imagine the capital of Memphis at this time. Bustling markets, the smell of incense, the clatter of bronze tools, priests whispering prayers in grand temples, soldiers patrolling streets lined with mud brick houses, and looming above it all, the vision of Khufu, the pharaoh who dared to command the impossible. He would not settle for a pyramid like those before him. His monument would be larger, grander, and eternal. But Egypt was not a peaceful paradise. Behind the glittering temples lay tension. Rival nobles schemed for power. Foreign raiders threatened the edges of the kingdom, and resources were always stretched thin. Building such a monument was not just an act of devotion, it was a gamble with the survival of the nation itself. Think of the stakes. Tens of thousands of workers would be needed. Entire quarries of limestone carved and dragged for miles. Timber, rope, copper tools, all scarce, all costly. The Nile would have to carry stones heavier than anything the world had ever moved. One mistake, one failure, and the god king's dream would crumble into sand. Yet Khufu was determined. He gathered his architects, his priests, his engineers, men whose names have been forgotten, but whose designs still stand. They studied the stars. They measured the earth. And in the desert plateau of Giza, they chose the site. A place where sand met bedrock. A place where heaven and earth could finally meet. And so, the stage was set. An empire at its height. A god-king with an impossible vision. A land both blessed and burdened by the Nile. And at the heart of it all, an idea that would defy time itself. But here's the question. How did mere mortals transform this dream into stone? The answer is not as simple as you might think. The desert plateau of Giza was silent when the first workers arrived. To them, it was nothing but a vast stretch of stone and sand. Yet they carried with them orders from the God King himself. Build a monument that would touch the heavens. There was no blueprint, no precedent, no second chance. What they attempted had never been done before, and failure was not an option. At dawn, the camps stirred with life. Tens of thousands of men, Farmers, craftsmen, and laborers marched toward the site. Contrary to legend, these were not slaves chained in misery. They were citizens of Egypt, serving their pharaoh as an act of devotion, but also as a duty to their families. During the Nile's flood season, when their fields lay underwater, they turned their strength to stone. Fed by royal rations of bread, beer, and onions, they built not only for Khufu, but for their own place in eternity. Still, conditions were brutal. The heat seared their skin, the stones crushed their hands, and each day, the desert tested their will. Then came the quarries. Imagine the sound, the relentless pounding of copper chisels against limestone. Sparks flying as the workers hammered, pried, and cut massive blocks from the earth. Each stone, weighing tons, had to be freed, shaped, and dragged away. Men shouted orders, ropes creaked, sledges groaned under impossible weight. To move even a single block was a battle, and there were millions to be placed. Transporting them was no less a miracle. The Nile became a highway of giants. Special boats carried the stones downstream, their hulls straining against the burden. Workers hauled ropes on the riverbank, guiding the vessels like stubborn beasts. When the waters receded, ramps of mud and wood carried the stones across shifting sands. Every mile was a trial of sweat, blood, and determination. No one expected it would take decades, but Khufu demanded perfection, and perfection came slowly. The pyramid began to rise, layer upon layer, like a staircase into the sky. At first, it was manageable. Each level higher than the last, each stone locked tightly into place. But soon, the true scale of the challenge became clear. As the walls climbed higher, the ramps grew longer, the hauling more punishing. Men strained with ropes, chanting in rhythm, their voices echoing across the desert. The air was filled with dust, heat, and the groans of effort. 1,000 small miracles of coordination, repeated day after day. And yet, with each passing season, doubt began to grow. Could even the might of Egypt sustain such a project? Grain was consumed at alarming rates. Tools shattered under pressure. Entire families gave their lives to this dream of stone. Priests assured the people that Khufu's vision was divine, that building the pyramid was a path to eternal reward. But whispers spread among the workers. What if this was not divine at all? What if it was madness? Still, the pyramid grew. From the valley floor, it became a mountain. From across the Nile, it became a beacon. And from the pharaoh's palace, it became a promise. Khufu would live forever, even if his people broke themselves to make it so. But just as the monument reached impossible heights, new mysteries emerged. The stones became too large, too heavy, too precise. How did they lift them? How did they align them with the stars? Even now, scholars debate the answers. Some say ramps that spiraled upward. Others whisper about machines long forgotten. The truth is hidden beneath the sands, waiting for us to uncover. And yet, one thing is certain. This was not simply construction. It was conquest. A conquest not of land or armies, but of time itself. As the pyramid rose higher and higher, something strange began to happen. The practical challenges of hauling stone, though immense, were at least visible. But what baffled both the workers then and the scholars now was the precision. These were not just giant blocks stacked carelessly in the desert. Each stone was cut with uncanny accuracy, as if shaped by tools beyond their age. Edges so sharp, seams so perfect, that 4,500 years later, they still defy erosion. How could simple copper chisels achieve this? No one expected such perfection. Yet here it was. The alignment of the Great Pyramid added to the mystery. Its sides are almost perfectly oriented to the cardinal points: north, south, east, west. But here's the riddle. Even today, with satellite technology, we struggle to achieve such accuracy on a structure of this scale. The margin of error is smaller than a degree. How could ancient builders, without compasses, without advanced instruments, achieved this feat? Was it astronomy, mathematics lost to time, or perhaps something even more mysterious? Legends grew in the shadows of the pyramid. Some workers whispered that the pharaoh had help from the gods, that divine beings guided their hands. Others believed secret knowledge, passed down from an earlier forgotten civilization, was at play. The desert night was filled with speculation. Was Khufu building a tomb, or a machine of the gods? Modern theories only deepen the enigma. Some suggest massive ramps stretched for miles, spiraling around the structure. Others imagine counterweights, pulleys, or ingenious levers long since vanished. But even these explanations leave gaps. How were the heaviest granite blocks, weighing up to 70 tons, lifted hundreds of feet into the air? The evidence is incomplete, the answers elusive. And then there are the stars. The layout of the three Great Pyramids mirrors the constellation of Orion's belt with astonishing accuracy. To the ancient Egyptians, Orion was linked to Osiris, Lord of the afterlife. Was this alignment deliberate? Was the pyramid not just a tomb, but a cosmic gateway, an attempt to bind the pharaoh's soul to the heavens themselves? The thought is unsettling. A structure of stone, yes, but also of symbols, faith, and mysteries carved into the desert floor. The more we uncover, the more impossible it seems. What if the Great Pyramid was not only an engineering project, but something far greater? A riddle wrapped in stone? A message for the future? Or a secret meant to be buried forever? One thing is clear. This was the turning point. The pyramid was no longer just a monument to a king. It had become something else entirely, a mystery that defied logic, a challenge whispered across centuries. And that mystery would outlive every pharaoh, every dynasty, and every empire that followed. In the end, the Great Pyramid was completed after more than 2 decades of relentless effort. Towering nearly 500 feet into the sky, it reigned as the tallest structure on Earth for almost 4,000 years. The sheer achievement is staggering, yet the true marvel is not only in the stones themselves, but in the human will that raised them. Archaeologists now believe the answer lies not in lost technologies or divine intervention, but in a blend of genius, perseverance, and sheer organization. Ramps, sledges, ropes, and lubricated tracks may have been the tools. The Nile's floods were harnessed to transport stone. Thousands of coordinated hands, guided by brilliant minds, turned chaos into order. It was less a mystery of machines and more a triumph of human unity. Still, even with these theories, questions remain. No single explanation fully accounts for every detail. Some stones are simply too large, their placement too precise, some alignments too uncanny. Perhaps that is the lasting power of the pyramids. They resist complete understanding. They stand as both monuments and riddles, reminding us that the ancients were capable of wonders we still struggle to comprehend. For the people of Egypt, the pyramid was more than stone stacked on stone. It was a cosmic statement. It declared that Pharaoh was eternal, his power reaching from earth to sky. It unified a nation under a single purpose, channeling their labor into something that would outlast them all. Families may have suffered, workers may have toiled until their bones broke, but together they etched immortality into the desert. And what of Khufu himself? His tomb inside the pyramid is stark, empty, stripped by looters centuries ago. No golden treasures remain. No jeweled mask or gilded sarcophagus lies within. Only stone, silent and eternal. The man is gone, his body dust, but his vision remains, unchallenged, immovable, eternal. The resolution, then, is not an answer, but a lesson. The pyramids show us the astonishing heights human ambition can reach and the mysteries it can leave behind. They remind us that the greatest monuments are not just made of stone, but of dreams. Dreams so powerful they outlive civilizations. The Great Pyramid still stands, silent and immovable, as empires have risen and fallen around it. Rome came and went. Babylon faded into dust. Even mighty Egypt itself collapsed into memory. Yet Khufu's mountain of stone remains, watching over the desert like an eternal sentinel. When you look at it today, you are not just staring at a tomb. You are looking into the mind of a civilization, a people who believed that life and death were only steps in a larger journey. A people who believed stone could bridge earth and sky, man and God, time and eternity. And perhaps that is the true secret. The pyramid was never only about engineering. It was about belief. It was about human beings reaching for something greater than themselves and refusing to let the limits of their age hold them back. So the question lingers. What will remain of us thousands of years from now? What monuments, what dreams will tell future generations who we were and what we dared to build? The sands may shift, civilizations may vanish, but the Great Pyramid whispers through time, reminding us that ambition, vision, and unity can carve eternity out of stone. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to subscribe to History Hub for more cinematic stories. Because the past is not just history, it is a mystery still waiting to be uncovered.